Hello, I'm Dan Wendelin, the host of Stories for Wonderful Children. The third season of the show starts September 4th, 2022, and I'd like to give you a brief preview of what to expect. If you're a new listener to Stories for Wonderful Children, welcome. Most episodes of this podcast are recordings of bedtime stories I told my children years ago. Now, with their permission, I'd like to share them with you. These stories were improvised, so you'll frequently hear them ask questions, make suggestions, or crack jokes. I recommend starting your listening at the beginning of Season 1, as many of the stories build on each other over time. If you're already a fan of Stories for Wonderful Children, thank you. It's your emails and positive reviews that have encouraged me to keep producing this show. Keep sharing the stories with those who you think might enjoy them. Now, let's talk about a couple of the stories coming up in Season 3. During a visit to Flibbertigibbet, King of the Cats, Winella discovers that the sanctuary he runs for endangered animals has become overcrowded. Fortunately, she has an idea.
And Winella was eating her tuna fish sandwich, but at the same time that she was eating her tuna fish sandwich, she was thinking. And she said, "Well, I have an idea. You said that some of the animals don't want to stay in the sanctuary because it's so crowded. Could you set up a second sanctuary here in the jungle? And maybe some of the animals would move here, and that way they'd be close to the palace where they'd be safe." And Flibbertigibbet said, "Oh, that is a very good idea." And Zinnia nodded. She said, "It's a good idea, but who would run it? We need someone to run it and be in charge." "Oh, I do not know. I'm in charge of running the kingdom. I could not run such a thing." And Winella said, "And I have to live at home most of the time. I couldn't live in a sanctuary." She said, "It would need to be someone who cared." She said, "Let me think about it." And Flibbertigibbet said, "Well, I will assign the extra guards, and I will begin building a second sanctuary here in the jungle. Winella, you will be in charge of finding someone to organize the running of it."
Who do you think Winella will find to run the animal sanctuary? Well, I'll tell you soon. Keep listening. We will also return to the tale of Ia and Dak in Season 3. Picking up 3 years after the stories in Season 2, we will now follow Dak as he searches for a certain unforgettable someone who he met while sailing back from their visit to their parents' tropical island. Listen to this clip where he shares the memory with Ia.
"So I cast my line in the water, but I cast it not far away from the boat, but just right up near the boat, so I could see the hook trailing in the clear water underneath the boat because it was so clear." He said, "And I could see the great fishes of the deep swimming back and forth, some of them bigger than you or I. One of them very deep, so deep that it was so far away I could barely see it. Must have been as big as our boat. But I was watching my hook, and soon a fish came up and it took the hook, and I started to reel it in, and just as the fish was about to leave the water, a shape swam up so swiftly, I almost thought it was in my imagination, but it looked like a girl with a tail like a fish, and she did something to my line. There was a flash like of a knife or scissors, and then my line was cut again. And I stood there and I stared, and she turned, and Ia, she was so beautiful. She had the most beautiful blonde hair I'd ever seen, and she had the face of an angel. And do you know what she did?" said Dak. "No," said Ia. "What?" "She stuck her tongue out at me, and she made a terrible face," said Dak. "And then she grinned, and she swam off. She'd been cutting my fish off my line all day, Ia."
So, do you think Dak will find the mysterious mermaid? Can two people who are so different find a way to relate to each other? Find out in Season 3 of Stories for Wonderful Children. New episodes arrive every Sunday, starting September 4th, 2022. Until then, remember, tell someone you love a story.